Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and the topic for today is a Lost Mine of Phandelver Dungeon Master Guide, which means this is for the Dungeon Master. If you are playing this adventure, stop watching because there will be spoilers. I would suggest going and watching one of my other videos that are more suitable for a player. You can come back and watch these videos at a later date when you've finished playing through the adventure. But if you're a dungeon master, today's topic is going to be right up your alley. It's exactly the sort of thing I suspect you are looking for. So we're going to talk about Linene Graywind. This is the Lionshield merchant. And you can find details on Linene Graywind on page 16 of the Lost Mine of Phandelver Dungeon Masters Adventure. Sorry, not Dungeon Masters Guide. It's in the Lost Mine of Phandelver Dungeon Adventure book. Now, Linene Graywind is a sharp-tongued human woman of about 35. She's been working for an organisation called the Lionshields, and this is a merchant company based in the city of Yatar. She operates this trading post for them. So she's operating and managing the Lionshield Costa trading post for them. And she's been doing this for probably just over a year. I wouldn't say it's a particularly long time, but long enough to sort of have established herself there. That doesn't necessarily mean that she has a particularly good relationship with the people of Phandalin, but I will get into that as we go. She's had problems with bandits raiding the Lionshield caravans, but can only speculate as to who is responsible for the thieving and the loss of stock that has been transported to her. There's been more than a number of these. Now, recently one has gone missing. She has a couple of suspicions as to who may be responsible. Top of her list is the Red Brand bandits. She believes that the Red Brands are probably responsible for stealing her goods. Next on the list, if it's not the Red Brands, would probably be the Orc War Bands or Orc Scouts operating in the area around Phandalin. She's aware that Harbin Wester has put out a bounty on the head of orcs operating in the area, particularly around Wyventor, so that could also be another reason why her stock has been going missing. The only other possibility is the Cragmore Goblin tribe, which also operate along the roads. So there's about 3 possibilities that she has, of which at the top of her list is definitely the Red Brands. Linene keeps a supply of armour and weapons in the back room. This is hidden away from most people. It's not usually advertised. You really sort of have to go and ask directly to actually see the wares, because they are stored away in the back room rather than the main display area. Weapons and armour are available to purchase from any sort of interested buyers, but there are limitations on who she will purchase, allow purchasing or sell to. So in other words, she does have some sort of moral code to her. Linene Graywind has a few scruples and will not sell arms to just anybody. If she thinks that somebody is a threat to the town of Phandalin, because she does have a connection to Phandalin, not just the Lionshield, but she also has a connection and strong bond to Phandalin itself. She understands that developing a good relationship in this area is important, and therefore she would never do anything that would threaten that. She's very law-abiding, you might say, in other words. The sort of person who sort of follows a lot of procedures and laws, as you would expect from most merchants who are operating in a non-suspicious manner. But she's not that sort of person. She refuses to do business with the Red Brands. Now, that's certainly selling arms and weapons, things like armour, all of that sort of stuff. She would not sell that sort of equipment to the Red Brands. But here's the thing. She also refuses to sell other items to them, which means, as a general rule, they will just come in and take what they want. Just because she refuses to do business with them doesn't mean that she doesn't wind up still having to pay protection money like the rest of the town businesses. She refuses to do so, and as a result, usually when they come in to collect protection money, what happens is they just take what items they want, and certainly going into the back room they would be looking for other things, but as I said, she's hidden that away because otherwise they would just go to the back room and take what they want. So that's always hidden away, so it's hard to find, stashed in some way. But they would also take money straight from her till or her money box or money tin. So all of those things are likely to happen, even though she is trying to resist them in some way. The player's characters can buy a selection of adventuring gear, armor, weapons, and other types of bits and pieces that you can find in the player's handbook. The Dungeon Master should still feel free to make the final call as to what limitations there are on either the price. I would keep the price pretty much standard myself, but you could change the price and there might not be a huge selection. Given that she's been having problems with restocking, that is probably going to mean that she doesn't have all of the wares that she would normally like to have. So feel free as a Dungeon Master to say, look, I'm out of stock on that particular item, I don't have any available at this time. She is likely to warn the player's characters about the red brands and the fact that they hang out at the Sleeping Giant Tavern, or tap house. So feel free to impart that information. I think that would be something she would warn pretty much anybody coming into Phandelver about, that the red brands are dangerous and you need to be careful of them and where they hang out. Otherwise, return business, you want return business, and red brands are more likely than not to drive good business away. Now, if the player's characters manage to recover her stolen goods, she's going to reward them with 50 gold, and may even also provide them with additional help if she's able to do so. This is certainly a situation, if they were to bring back her stolen goods, that she would offer them some armor or weapons for sale and show them the hidden stocks that she has. Now remember, the stolen goods that we're talking about are in the Cragmore hideout. They're in location 8, and you should be able to sort of remember what sort of stuff there. I believe it's about 100 gold coins worth of various bits and pieces, and she is going to obviously give them half of what it's worth, simply because it's better to do that than to have nothing returned at all, which is certainly a possibility in a lawless town like this. Linene is a workaholic who has really made no time for family and in some respects even friends. Because of her sharp tongue and sort of the nature of her business, she doesn't have a particularly good relationship with everybody in town. I would suggest to you that you decide who she has a relationship with, but a workaholic who sort of has put herself into the role and is trying to work himself into a position that is going to be better than Phandelver. Phandelver is a very small location and it's really not an opportunity to make an awful lot of money or increase her station in life. She's a straight-laced businesswoman trying to work her way up the Lionshield Costa ladder. And if she can work her way up the Lionshield ladder, that probably means a better placement than Phandelver. And she'll be able to move into sort of a larger town or possibly one of the cities that are closer than the likes of, say, Waterdeep. Linene is committed to the Merchant Guild and rigidly follows procedure. This is the sort of thing that you would expect from somebody who runs a business. She is a businesswoman. She understands processes, so she would understand how a business operates. This is actually very important because it allows her to determine how well another business in Phandelver is doing by inspecting how they run their business. And it would be pretty apparent to her, much like any of the other business people within Phandelver who have had some sort of training. And Linene Graywind has had training of some kind in the area of business and tax and so forth, and keeping books. Which means, as a follow-up to this, that she's very suspicious and suspects that the Phandelver Miners Exchange is in fact a front for criminal activity. She would not trust Halia Thornton in the slightest. Looking at the amount of trade going through her miners exchange and the return you would expect from that, she would probably suspect that there is probably very little money to be made in the miners who are coming in, and that therefore the only way is to be operating at a loss, and potentially she may have some sort of other business going on which is of a criminal activity or underhanded in some way. So she's very suspicious of the miners exchange. There are a number of things that could indicate that, and it would probably come down to the amount of traffic traveling through the store. Of course, you don't know how much gold or silver or rare stones are being dropped off with regard to the miners who are, collecting sums of money from her, but this is what I would think Linene Graywind would be sort of thinking in her head. Now, she doesn't have a huge focus in this adventure, and the reality is that she's there really to provide goods. But not everybody buys their goods from her trading post. Remember, there's more than one location you can purchase stuff from. Barthen's Provisions would be one of those locations. I don't think that Linene Graywind would know an awful lot about Gundren Rockseeker or the Rockseeker brothers. I think that she would know that, as a general rule, they do most of their trade through Barthen's Provisions rather than herself, and as a result, they have some sort of arrangement. Maybe that's to transport goods back and forth to Barthen's Provisions. She's not completely sure, but she suspects that might be the case. But yeah, she hasn't really met the Rockseeker brothers that often. Maybe in passing on the street, and that's really about it. She would know Haben Wester pretty well. I don't imagine that she has a very good relationship with Haben Wester. Most of the townsfolk don't like him because he's been put in a position of townmaster, but really hasn't been able to achieve anything, which is why the Red Brands run riot. There's not much he can do about it, but I don't imagine that they have a particularly good relationship, and she probably doesn't really call on him very much. I suspect that Linene Graywind knows nothing about Glassstaff. She may certainly know about the Red Brands, but who their leader is might not necessarily be information she's privy to. She's not part of any faction or agent. She's not a secret spy, but she is an individual who could see through a ruse that a business might be portraying in some way. So that's how I would see it. Now, I'm hoping that this video was helpful to you in some way, and if it has, fantastic. I have quite a few videos that cover the Lost Mine of Phandelver for NPCs, how to run the game, dealing with small and large groups, and various other topics that you should find useful if you are running the Lost Mine of Phandelver. If that's not really your cup of tea, that's all right, because I have hundreds of videos for players and dungeon masters on a variety of topics right across the whole gambit of things that are involving Dungeons & Dragons 5e and just Dungeons & Dragons in general. Now, if you want to support the channel so I keep doing videos like this, you can support me on Patreon, where you get access to the unlisted live streams, where you get priority on the video content that I make, and also I have some additional content I release there as well. Otherwise, you can use my affiliate links down in the description to the book depository and Amazon, where you pay the same price and I get a small commission on anything you buy online. Otherwise, I have a merchandise shelf underneath all of my videos. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.